This week for my field experience, I was actually able. This was my first week. We were on campus at Splendora High School, Tuesday and Thursday. Um, I did get to learn a few things. One of the things that really stood out to me is our class time meeting together. I really enjoyed the articles that we read. I think that they were really big on us talking, especially our article on Thursday covering kind of teachers. And how we're losing so many teachers throughout the profession, especially after COVID. That was uh, that was actually really interesting on reading. I feel like after this week, I'm starting to realize kind of the overload that teachers have and kind of the difficulty that it's going to take being in a classroom alone. I do see that going through kind of the traditional way of teaching is going to prepare me a lot better rather than going through like an alternative way. And that was also the article that we had read on Tuesday, which I really enjoyed that article a lot. I really agree with the traditional way. I think that the things that we're doing is preparing us more than enough for the classroom. Although that we're doing all this observations and kind of becoming familiar with the classroom and how a teacher kind of works throughout the day, I still understand that none of this will prepare you for being alone. Um, I did get to learn kind of how a teacher makes a test. I wouldn't say completely learn the whole um, like process behind it and stuff like that, but while observing one of the mentors that I get to see, Mr. Matthews, he had me and my classmate Parker kind of go through a test generator and just kind of fill in blanks and stuff like that. But it was cool seeing that because we've over these past few weeks we've kind of got to see the students learn. It's a human geography class, and they're kind of learning about the empires and stuff right now. And so we kind of got to watch them go over all these different assessments and just kind of watch Mr. Matthews kind of just gain data over everything that they were learning and just seeing who understood what and who didn't understand what. And walking around and really getting to talk to these students, it helped me see that a lot of the times their seating arrangements have a lot to do with how much information they're retaining and how much they're not. Um, and I really enjoy observing Mr. Matthews' class because I feel like he is very by the book. He makes sure that he's always doing things the right way, the correct way, and he just sets such a great example for us as student teachers. Um, and he takes his time to wait after uh, each assignment he gives and stuff like that to explain to me and help me understand just what was the purpose of doing that, what was the purpose of changing two tables only, and then letting them know like, hey, look, next week I'm gonna have a whole new seating arrangement, stuff like that. And I really enjoy that. uh I did get to observe Coach Troy's class. I can tell that Coach Troy is an amazing teacher. Now, the lesson that I did get to observe, I wouldn't agree with it. I mean, I didn't think it was the greatest thing. I mean, it was a very good lesson. I noticed that not the entire class was engaged. There were still about 6, 7 students who were kind of wandering off, and you could tell they were kind of in their own world. Now, nobody was being disruptive or speaking or anything like that. He manages his class very well, and I just think that the lesson itself just wasn't very attention grabbing to the students. They couldn't really relate to it, and it wasn't until the end of the class whenever Coach Troy finally got everybody's attention. And it was because he related their lesson over World War II kind of to what we have going on right now in our world. And they kind of started talking about the Chinese spy balloons and things like that. And so once he was able to grab the attention of all the students, you could see the lesson kind of working itself into its process of just getting everybody involved and having students want to engage. And it was actually a really good thing to watch. The only issue was is that it wasn't until the last 15 minutes of class when students finally chose to engage. Um, I want to say the class was 90 minutes long. So out of an hour and a half, 15 minutes was the entire class being engaged. And obviously it's always going to be like that. I've noticed that every classroom, there's always one or two students who want to put their head down or don't want to engage and stuff like that. This was just the first time I had seen a larger group of them. Um, in the past classes that or in the other classes that I observe, I noticed that it may be two or three, but they're disruptive. They're constantly talking, they're not paying attention, they pull their phones out, and we're constantly having to redirect them and tell them, hey, like, let's put our phones up, let's get let's lock in and let's get ready to learn and stuff like that. And I really feel like what I'm starting to realize is building a connection with the students, because watching Mr. Matthews, who is an amazing teacher, he makes a very well connection to his students. He does it a little bit different than other teachers, but I love his connection. He has their respect and he has their trust. His students trust him, knowing that he's going to make sure that they meet all their needs and that they understand every bit of what's going on. Watching Mr. Weller, someone as Mr. Weller's a little bit more laid back. He likes to do more of a lecture, and watching him lecture, you can tell that he has a different kind of connection with his students. Now, sometimes his connection with those students, there may be times where they start to get out of hand, but I've actually this week I got to witness him kind of enforce some authority, and I wouldn't say raise his voice, but he let them know with the tone of his voice that it wasn't the time. It's time to learn and time to be locked in on the lesson and things like that. And his students responded well. And before, I wouldn't have thought that his students would respond that way. Just after seeing the way that they act, the way that they kind of treat the environment of the classroom. But for the most part, I should have known better. I should have known that he does a great job of connecting with the students, letting them know, like, hey, I'm the guy that's here for you. We're on the same team. We're not against each other. But overall, it's only getting better and better. I'm excited for this week coming up. I want to talk to Mr. Matthews a little bit more about how he created the test and what information, or kind of like what were his assessments, because there are times in the day where I'm not in his class all day. I don't always get to see everything that he does, especially in the beginning. I'm in Mr. Matthews' class towards the end of the day, but I want to try to get there early, see if I can maybe switch with one of my peers. That way I can see just kind of how he starts his day, how he plans it, and kind of how he goes about figuring out, like, from the data that he collects, what assessments he needs to do, what he needs to reteach, or how he's going to make sure that these 3 students who didn't understand this assignment, how is he going to be able to connect with those 3 students and get them to kind of catch up and retain that information. But overall, great week. Excited for the next.